Hi, welcome to Blue Book's Week in Review. As always, Pamela and Greg are here. Pamela, you look like you're traveling, possibly en route.
Yes, I am actually en route home. I tried to get an earlier flight so I can go to my son's track meet, but I was in Tubac, Arizona at the Mexican Table Grape conference, and it was nice to have the event. The funny thing is that they haven't had the event since 2019, and I was at that one as well. So I'm popular in Mexico.
So there's uh,
So
there's two things that came out of this. First, the association's prediction for this year's Mexican grape crop, and the season is mid-May to mid-July, right?
yeah, mid-May to mid-July. There's a lot of talk about having the right size crop for the demand that's there. Although a few did bring up that with what's going on in California weather-wise, there could be quite an opening for summer fruit because we don't know the extent of strawberry damage. Strawberries are, really peaking in the summer coming from, especially Northern California. Some of the stone fruit may have some damage, especially cherries, just as it's been raining so much that the bees can't get out there to pollinate when they needed to. So a lot of uncertainties could create some market conditions for grapes that are favorable for the Mexican crop this year.
That sounds good. And of course, you were invited there to speak on your expertise. What kinds of things did you tell the audience?
Well, for this time around, I had some advice about TikTok, and I know there's a lot of uncertainty about what's going to happen with it, but I don't think there's any uncertainty that the market and consumers are demanding the type of video that is happening on there. And if marketers are uneasy or hesitant about starting to create that kind of content, I wouldn't worry too much because it's not a vacuum. It's as soon as if anything happens, there will be something else comes up as right away. I also had some thoughts about food trends, especially as how they relate to grapes. Pulled some funny videos about what people are doing to grapes. Back in the day, my kids decided to do the thing where you dip grapes in Jello powder to make them sweeter, and now people are actually coating candy, like melting Jolly Ranchers and dipping grapes in them and making their own snacks. But I'm sure that makes the grape breeders weep with what they're doing for all of the work and research and making a tastier grape, only to have people cover them in candy and pay $20 for a little cup of them. But hey, it's grape consumption.
It kind of seems like it connects with TikTok. It's something that young people are doing that older generations are completely baffled by, but it is nonetheless
Older,
a trend that we have to pay attention to.
yes, it is something we do have to pay attention to, definitely. Also, if you recall from your experience at the blueberry conference, that consumer trends are really supporting blueberries that are crunchier. And that is also trending where if the grapes don't have that crunch, then people don't want them. So, I mean, that's not new for grapes, but it just seems to be a huge emphasis right now. And there's even like videos that go around that go viral where they're talking about which store has the crunchiest grapes. Apparently, it's Sam's Club, according to the internet. But all fascinating stuff for folks who may not be have that on their radar already.
Well, the internet is never wrong.
Never wrong. Yeah, you have some info on that this year, and so far the reaction to the Environmental Working Group Shopper's Guide to Pesticides and Produce. Fizz? Are we
Yeah,
fizzing or fizzling?
it sounds like it's fizzling. It came out last week and we covered it, and then we covered some of the response by the Alliance for Food and Farming, which is the organization that represents conventional and organic growers. Basically, one of their main jobs is to counteract the dirty dozen with fact-based messaging. And of course, you have to have emotional appeals too. Uh, I figured give it a week. Let's see what the news media, consumer media, had in coverage wise. And I talked with the president of AFF, Teresa Thorne, this week, and she gave us a rundown of the media coverage. She said their analysis shows it's as weak as it has been since 2020, and that's when the Dirty Dozen came out, right as our country and many others were going into
Oh,
lockdown. And it was particularly ill timed because that wasn't a time that consumers were really worried about pesticide residue in conventional versus organic. They were worried about supply chains and whether their grocery stores were going to be open. So it really fizzled then. And they came into the market this year with their messaging right at the same time that California is being flooded. It's affecting the growers, of course, but it's affecting farm workers. And with retail inflation, it's just not a real good time to connect with consumers who are worried about who would be worried about conventional versus organic pesticide residue, which is something that all the peer-reviewed scientific studies have shown. If you wash your fruits and vegetables with tap water, it takes care of most, if not all, certainly any of the danger. And so they came to the market during that. She did point out that CNN and its media affiliates had the most coverage. About a third of all consumer media coverage was driven by CNN. And in the past, AFF has been successful talking to reporters and giving its message. They have not had that success this year, but some other sources representing the industry were quoted in the CNN story. I ran a link to it if our readers want to see what it looked like. Of course, there's some other media that covered it. We personally think it's unfair and unbalanced and scare oriented. And some of the sites point out that eating fruits and vegetables, whether conventional or organic, is still recommended and very healthy. And some just skip that completely and just go for the scare message. And it does a huge disservice to consumers for them to hear that message.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that it hasn't gone very far, but that the advocacy group that we're relying on for our scientific data didn't really get a say in some of the biggest coverage. That's kind of a bummer. But they still have that message out there, and they still have good SEO on that message, because when you Google it, they are one of the first things that comes up as well. And we all know that's how you win that argument.
It is. I mean, it's something that the industry battles every year, and some years are better than others. And there's hope that this year will be one of the better years, and that messaging is not really getting across. So let's hope that continues. But I also linked to some other media coverage that our readers may want to check out. It's always fun to see what consumers are hearing and be prepared to counter that with positive and fact-based messaging.
All right. Well, I noticed that you lost your KU shirt. I lost my Mizzou shirt. I switched back to produce because produce is always a winner.
Yeah, we had to switch back to the high school seasons. It's a bummer. It's hard to be the champs and everything here in Kansas City and KU country.
All right. Well, that's it for the Produce Reporter Weekend Review. If you are not getting the Produce Reporter, you need to go to producerebook.com and sign up.